Hello students, this is Kumar. In this session we will continue with the previous chapter, Nationalism in India. In the previous video we have discussed about the impacts of First World War in India and different satyagrahas organized by Gandhiji and what is the idea of satyagraha and about Jallianwala Bagh and the starting of non-cooperation movement and the participation of different sections of the society in non-cooperation movement and its impacts. Okay, now let's quickly recall the non-cooperation movement and we will continue further. First, the non-cooperation movement was started in towns in 1921. Both Khilafat and non-cooperation movement was launched together in January 1921. Note it down, very important for one mark question. Both Khilafat and non-cooperation movement was launched together in January 1921. First, the non-cooperation movement was started in the towns with the participation of middle class people. How these middle class people participated in the non-cooperation movement? First, all the students left all the government controlled schools and colleges. Okay, the students left schools and colleges which were under the control of British, and all the headmasters and teachers also resigned their jobs. And lawyers gave up their legal practices, and council elections were boycotted in most of the provinces except Madras. Foreign goods were boycotted, liquor shops were picketed, and foreign clothes were burnt in huge bonfires. Okay, even the merchants and traders also refused to trade in foreign goods, or they even refused to finance foreign trade. Okay, so what were the effect of this non-cooperation movement in the towns? How it affected? Because of the non-cooperation movement in the towns, which means what is that non-cooperation movement? Boycotting the foreign goods, picketing the liquor shops, and burning the foreign clothes. Okay, what was the impact of this, effect of this? Because of this, the import of foreign cloth have been offed. Okay, the import of foreign cloth became off. Okay, and its value dropped from 1 or 2 crores to 57 crores. Okay, and because of this, what had happened? Production of Indian textiles have been went up. Okay, production of Indian textiles and handlooms were went up, but still the people face some problems. Okay, which led to the failure of this non-cooperation movement in towns. What was that? As we all know, khadi was very expensive comparing with the machine made clothes of Britain. The Britain clothes were very cheap because it was machine made, but khadi was handloom, handmade, so it was more expensive. So the common people, the poor people, were not able to afford to buy khadi. So obviously what they would do, they would go for the cheap machine made goods of Britain. Again all the people started to buy cheap machine made goods of Britain, and there was no any alternative Indian education institutions because it was very slow to come up. So no education, no job, and no income. So what the people would do, they have rejoined. They have joined back to the schools and colleges. All the students, teachers, and lawyers also started their legal practices. So finally, this movement ended up with failure. Okay. Next, the rebellion in the countryside. We have discussed about Awadh. What was the problem in Awadh? In Awadh, the talukdars demanded high tax and landlords demanded high rent, and the people were forced to do begar. And the people were continuously sent out of the land. Okay, the peasants took the land for lease from the contractors or the landlords. Okay, and they were continuously sent out of the land. They were not permanently staying in a particular land. They were not able to cultivate something permanently in the land because they were sent out regularly. So this was the biggest problem for them. So the demand of the people or peasants in Awadh was to reduce the taxes and to abolish begar system and the boycott of oppressive landlords. Okay, and this Awadh movement was led by Baba Ramchandra, and Baba Ramchandra and Jawaharlal Nehru toured, visited many villages in and around Awadh, and they collected the complaints of the people and they started Audh Kishan Sabha. Okay, they have set up Audh Kishan Sabha, and it was headed by Jawaharlal Nehru and Baba Ramchandra. And the peasants of Awadh, they attacked the houses of talukdars and merchants, and bazaars were looted, and the hoarded grains were taken over. So Congress did not add this movement to the non-cooperation movement as they have involved in the violence. Okay. Now see the revolution by the tribals. Okay, here we will see about the tribals of Gudam Hills in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so these tribals had some problem because they also their own had their own idea about Swaraj. As other forest in Gudam Hills also, the forest law was enforced by British and they did not allow anyone to enter into the forest. Okay, the tribal peoples were not allowed to enter into the forest to graze their cattle or to collect fruits or vegetables or to collect firewoods. They were not allowed to enter into the forest. So because of this, the people considered that it's not just their right has been denied, or it's not something has been forced on them. They felt that their traditional right, their birthright has been denied because the tribal people born and brought up in forest regions, and suddenly if they are not allowed to enter into the forest, they cannot accept it, they could not accept it. Okay, and apart from this, the British government forced these tribals to do begar in road construction and in some other works. So the tribal people were enraged because of this, and they wanted complete freedom to enter into the forest. No one should restrict them to enter into the forest. This was Swaraj for them. Okay, according to the tribal people, Swaraj means entering into the forest freely without any restriction. So these people became enraged, became anger, and they started to attack the British officials. They started the militant guerrilla movement, and this was led by a person called Alluri Sitaram Raju. Okay, so Alluri Sitaram Raju is an interesting character because he claimed that he had variety of special powers. Like he claimed that he can make correct astrological predictions, which means he can predict the future, and he can heal the people, he can cure the people from any disease. Okay, and even he said that he can survive even from the bullet shots. So he claimed all these things, and the people were motivated by him, and even he talked great about Mahatma Gandhiji. Okay, he talked the greatness of Mahatma Gandhiji, and he said that he has been inspired by Mahatma Gandhiji's ideas and the non-cooperation movement. And he also advised the people to give up drinking alcohol, and he advised the people to wear khadi, and he told the people to picket the liquor shops, close the liquor shops. Okay, and he followed Gandhian ideologies, but there was a difference of opinion. Alluri Sitaram Raju clearly stated that India can achieve Swaraj only by the use of force, not through non-violence. Gandhiji said that independence should be achieved only through non-violence, but Alluri Sitaram Raju followed all the ideologies of Gandhiji, but he said that Swaraj cannot be achieved without force. Okay, Swaraj can be, or independence can be achieved only with the force. Okay, so the rebels attacked the police stations, and they attempted to kill many British officials. Okay, and the guerrilla warfare was continuing, and finally Alluri Sitaram Raju was captured by the British and he was executed. Okay, this is the revolution happened in Gudam Hills by the tribals. Next, Swaraj in the plantations. The workers also had their different idea about the Swaraj. For the workers in the Assam tea plantation, Swaraj was moving freely in and out of the plantation, and they should have had the relationship with their villages, because once these people are brought to the plantation, they were not allowed to move out of the plantation, or they were not allowed to go back to their villages. So the people felt that moving back to their villages or moving out of the plantation is freedom for them. According to them, what is freedom? Moving out of the plantation and going back to their villages. Okay, so according to the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, the plantation workers were not allowed to leave the tea gardens without permission, and that permission was not given, it was given very rarely. Okay, so these plantation workers had such kind of restriction. Gradually they heard about non-cooperation movement, and they constructed their own idea about non-cooperation movement. Okay, so after hearing about the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers, they refused the authorities and they left the plantation and they headed to their homes. Okay, after hearing about the non-cooperation movement, they left the plantation and they mustered the courage to leave the plantation and heading towards their home. Okay, and these people had a notion, they believed that Swaraj means a Gandhi Raj is coming. Okay, Gandhi Raj was coming, and everyone would be given a land in their own villages. Okay, the non-cooperation movement and Swaraj, they understood in a different way. They believed that Gandhi government is going to come, and everyone will be given with a piece of land in their own villages. So they decided to leave the plantation. They left the plantation and headed towards the home. But there was a strike by the railway workers and the steamers. Because of this, they were not able to reach the home. They were being caught by the police and they were brutally beaten up. Okay, so this participation of people in Awadh and Gudam Hills and the Assam plantation, they did not demand independence for the entire nation. Okay, their notion of Swaraj was very limited. Okay, but still, when they raised the slogans like Swatantra Bharat, it emotionally united all the Indians. Okay, and one more important incident, very important for one mark question, on February 1922. Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement because of its violence in many places, especially the violence happened in Chauri Chaura. Okay, and in Chauri Chaura, the peaceful demonstration turned into violence with the British officials, and police station was being burnt, and many civilians were being killed. So, because of this, and February 22nd, on February 1922, Gandhiji decided to call off or withdraw the non-cooperation movement. Okay, so keep this in mind. Non-cooperation movement was withdrawn on February 1922 because of the Chauri Chaura incident. Now, arrival of Simon Commission. Before this, Gandhiji got a clear idea that the satyagrahis must be trained before participating in the movement, because the satyagrahis did not have much knowledge. Satyagrahis should not involve in violence, but here many people involved in violence. So Gandhiji wanted to train the satyagrahis. At the same time, many leaders and members of Congress, they were tired of participating in this movement. Okay, no some bigger changes had happened. So what they decided was, they decided to take part in the council elections. Okay, for example, C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru, they formed Swaraj party to return to council elections, to take part in council elections, because they believed that if they are in the power, they can demand some change in the system. They can bring some change in the system if they have power. Okay, but many young leaders like Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, they demanded for the radical movement and the complete independence. Okay, so at this time, the Simon Commission entered into India. The Simon Commission was constituted by the Tory government of Britain. Okay, this came under the pressure of the mass movements in India. So the Simon Commission entered to India in 1928. Okay, this commission is named after the chairman of the commission, Sir John Simon. Okay, Sir John Simon was the chairman of this commission, so that's why it's named as Simon Commission. So this Simon Commission came to India to look into the demands of nationalists. Okay, to look into the demands of Indian nationalists and to suggest changes in the constitutional structure of India. But the problem here was, this Simon Commission did not have even a single Indian member. Okay, so the Indians and the national leaders did not accept the Simon Commission. Okay, why Simon Commission was opposed? Because Simon Commission did not have even a single Indian member. Okay, so this Simon Commission, as I told now, arrived in India in 1928, but it was greeted with the slogan, "Go back, Simon." The Muslim League, Congress, and every people of India received the Simon Commission with opposition. Okay, they have shown the opposition and they have raised a slogan, "Go back, Simon." After this, after the people refused the Simon Commission, in October 1929, Viceroy Lord Irwin recommended for a dominion status for India. Dominion status means both India and British would share the power, and they advised Congress to take part in the round table conference for discussing the future constitution for India. But the Congress refused to take part in the round table conference. Instead, they started to demand for Purna Swaraj, full independence. Let's see that. So in December 1929, under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, in the Lahore Congress session, they formalized Purna Swaraj, which means full independence. The national leaders did not want to share the power with British. Instead, they wanted to have the full independence. And 26th January 1930 was declared as the Independence Day of India, but it did not get much popular support. That's why, on the remembrance of that date, that 26th January, our constitution came into force and we celebrate it as Republic Day. Okay, and in 1930, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar established the Depressed Class Association. Very important for one more question. Who formed the Depressed Class Association? It was established by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in 1930. Okay, so after this, the civil disobedience movement starts. Gandhiji wanted to launch a nationwide movement in which all the sections of the society must participate. They should have a common idea about independence. What happened in non-cooperation movement? Different sections had different ideas about the movement, about Swaraj. But here Gandhiji, in the civil disobedience movement, he wanted to bring a common idea about among all the sections of the society about Swaraj. So Gandhiji chose salt as the medium for protesting against the British. Okay, because salt was consumed by both rich and poor, and it was the most essential items of food. So all the sections would participate in this. Okay, British laid tax on salt, and Gandhiji has chosen salt as the weapon and demanded for the abolition of salt tax. And as salt is consumed by everyone would take part in this movement. Okay, so what Gandhiji did on 31st January 1930, Gandhiji sent a letter to Viceroy Irving, and in that letter he stated 11 demands ranging from the industrialists to peasants. All the demands were listed in that. The peasants problem and all industrials problem and the small businessman problem, all the problems were listed, and most important was the demands of abolition of salt tax. This was the most important demand of this letter. Okay, and in that letter it was stated that government has to accept the demands by 11th March. If there is no response before the 11th March, a full civil disobedience campaign would be launched. Okay, but Viceroy Irvin was not willing to negotiate with this letter, and he just ignored this. He was not ready to discuss about the demands. So Gandhiji started the infamous civil disobedience movement. Okay, or we call it as a Salt March or Dandi March. So he started his famous Salt March accompanied by 78 of his trusted volunteers. So Gandhiji started this march from Gandhi's ashram in Sabarmati to the Gujarat coastal town Dandi. Okay, it was 240 miles every day. They walked for 10 miles and they walked 24 days. On 6th April 1930, Gandhiji reached Dandi with thousands of followers, and ceremonially they violated the salt law by manufacturing salt from the seawater by boiling it. Okay, so Gandhiji started the salt march with 78 of his trusted volunteers by on 12th March. Okay, 12th March he started his salt march, and 6th April he reached Dandi and he violated the salt law by manufacturing the salt. By seeing this, the breaking of salt has been spread to different parts of the country, and many people in different parts of the country started to break the salt law. Let's see the impact of this salt march or the civil disobedience movement. Okay, this is important question, and most of you will be confused to answer for this question. The impact of salt march or the impact of the civil disobedience movement. So what happened? Soon the movement spread to the entire nation. The movement spread to the entire nation. Very important. The second point. After this breaking of salt law, after the launching of civil disobedience movement, the colonial laws were violated. The British laws were violated. The people refused to follow the British laws, and salt was manufactured in numerous places in front of the government salt factories. In front of the government salt factories, the salt was manufactured and shown our opposition, and foreign clothes were burnt, liquor shops were picketed, and peasants refused to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes. Okay, peasants refused to pay the revenue and chowkidari taxes. Earlier in non-cooperation movement, the peasants demanded to reduce, they demand for relaxation, but now they completely refuse to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes. And all the village officials have resigned their jobs. And in many places, the people violated the forest laws by going into the reserved forest for collecting wood and graze cattle. Okay, these were the impacts or effects of the civil disobedience movement in India. Okay, let's recall. Colonial laws were violated, salt was manufactured in front of government salt factories, foreign clothes were burnt, and liquor shops were picketed. Peasants were refused to pay revenue and chowkidari taxes, and village officials resigned their jobs. And in many places, the forest law was violated by going into the reserve forest for collecting wood and to graze their cattle. Okay, and how did the government respond to this? The government again they brutally responded. In April 1930, Abdul Ghaffar Khan was arrested. Abdul Ghaffar Khan was a follower of Mahatma Gandhiji. He was arrested in Peshawar. In the next month, just 1 month after, in 1930, Gandhiji also was arrested. So this created widespread anger among the people. So many people started to protest and they took the street and they started to attack the government buildings. So because of this, the peaceful satyagrahis were being attacked by the British, and all the women, children and aged people, everyone was being brutally beaten up by the government. Okay, and around 1 lakh people were being arrested, the innocent people and the national leaders. Okay, the women and the old people, everyone was being beaten up and they were being arrested. So after this, Gandhiji decided to call off the movement. Okay, so he entered with Gandhi Irvin Pact. Very important for one more question. So by seeing these many violences going on and by seeing the sufferings facing by the people, Gandhiji decided to call off the non-cooperation movement. So he had an agreement with Irvin, which is known as Gandhi Irvin Pact, and this was happened on 5th March. Okay, Gandhi Irvin Pact was signed on 5th March. So Gandhiji called off the movement and he accepted to participate in the round table conference. And Viceroy stated that Irvin stated that the government would release the political prisoners. Okay, there was an agreement. What was the agreement? Gandhiji said that because they refused to participate in the first round table conference, so Gandhiji said that we will take part in the round table conference, and the British government said that okay, if you participate in the round table conference, we will release the political prisoners, because Jawaharlal Nehru and Abdul Ghaffar Khan was in prison already. Okay, so Gandhiji went to London in December 1931. He went to London for the second round table conference, but the round table conference was completely unprofitable for India because it did not give any positive results for India. When Gandhiji returned from round table conference, he discovered that Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Jawaharlal Nehru were in jail. They were not released, as the British government said. They were not released, and Congress also had been declared as illegal. Okay, and many measures were taken to prevent the meetings of Congress and demonstrations and boycotts. So British have completely enforced their powers, and they declared Congress also illegal, and they did not release Jawaharlal Nehru and Ghaffar Khan, and they have taken many procedures to prevent the meetings, demonstrations and boycotts. So by seeing all this oppression, Gandhiji decided to relaunch the civil disobedience movement in 1932, but it lost its momentum in 1934. Just it lasted for 2 years, and finally it ended up with failure. The second civil disobedience movement. What was the reason for the failure of second civil disobedience movement? What happened? How did Gandhiji reorganize or relaunch the second civil disobedience movement, and what were the reasons for the failure of the second civil disobedience movement? Let's see about this in the next session. Just revise all the topics we have discussed and use your textbook. Don't depend upon your internet. Textbook is the ultimate source for you. Thank you. Thank you all.